In this video, we're going to be covering formulas and functions in Excel. Now, knowing how to use these will start to make you really powerful in your ability to use Excel. We're going to start really simply so you can see what is possible. And as always, I would recommend that you go through the same process on Excel after you've watched the video, and of course you can rewatch the video to help you through each step. If you're new here, I'm Nikki, and on this channel I'm here to help you grow and progress in your data career with tips, strategies and technical support in a way that works with your whole life. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. If you haven't already watched the first videos in this series, I'll put the link to the playlist in the description. And in that we've covered simple sorts, filters and how to create tables. If you're comfortable with all of that, then we are ready to go. So in this video I'm going to start using a data set that you can access yourself that comes from my website, and if you go and download it from there, then you can use the same data to get the same results when you're replicating this yourself. I'll put the links in the description to the site. So it's empoweredanalysts.thinkific.com, and in the courses section there's this datasets course. Now it's free to enrol on. I've already enrolled on it, so I'm just going to resume here, but if you click on enrol then you can get through to the same place. And in here I will be building this up with other datasets over time, but at the moment we've got this pupil datasets in here. And if you go over here, you can see that there's a download button for Pupils Dataset A. Once you've got that, you can open it up and you can see that we've got an anonymised set of data about some pupils in a class, and it's got some categories of data in it like gender and the birth month and year, alongside the scores for maths, reading and writing. So the first thing we're going to do is to turn it into a table, and I've talked about this in a previous video. So the easiest way to do this is to make sure you've selected it anywhere in the dataset, and then you can click on CTRL and L and it will allow you to create a table. The next thing we're going to do is to identify the average scores for each category of the maths, reading and writing. Now we can easily do this by highlighting the column, and you can see down at the bottom of the screen you get a variety of information. So we've got an average, there's a count and a sum. So the average for this column is 60.4. It's quite useful for a quick look, but not if you want to see values for more than one column, because we'd have to go into each one and highlight the other columns to then see the average. So at the bottom of the table we're going to add a formula by using the average function. So let's scroll down, and you can see that because it's a table, if you're clicking into it you still get the column names at the top there. So if we click down here, we're going to click into a cell and we want the equals and then average. I'm going to type that function in and it starts to come up with a list of possible functions that are in Excel that start with these letters. So all formulas must start with an equals. We've got our average in, and now we need to put an open bracket in. So I'm going to click on press shift and then the open brackets. And now we have to tell it what to do an average of. So we'll highlight the cells that we want. I'm going to hover over a few columns. You can see if I start dragging this up, it highlights a range of cells, and you can see from E26, which is here, column E, row 26, to E31, but I want the whole column. The other option is sometimes I might want to click on a cell. I can click on Control and select individual cells that I might want to perform that function on, but again in this scenario that's not quite what we want to do. So I'm going to click on everything in that column. I'm going to go all the way up to the top. Now, because it's in a table, Excel's really clever and it understands that if I take my finger off my mouse here, it's referencing table 1, which is the table we're looking at, and then it's looking at the maths column. So no matter how many extra rows you were to add to this column, it would always understand that it's part of this whole table. That's a very, very important thing, not to be underestimated. So I'm going to close the brackets now and click on enter. So that gives me the same average that I had before at the bottom of the screen, but we've just got it here now. Now the next thing I'd like to do is calculate the averages for the other columns, and because I may not remember quite which ones are in which columns, one of the helpful things to do is if I scroll back to the top again and click up here, if I go to View and Freeze Panes, I'm going to freeze the panes here. When I'm scrolling down, when I click out of the table, I can still see that it's the reading and the writing column, and again that's quite helpful rather than having to scroll all the way up, particularly if you've got a lot of data to work with. So we're going to take this average, and I want to work out exactly the same concept but for reading and writing, and all I have to do is click in the bottom right hand corner, drag this across, and this will now work out the average for reading, and here it's worked out the average for writing. So to summarise, the formula is what we define as a user. The function is predefined within Excel, so in this instance we've used the average function. I'd also like to add a formula to count the number of pupils in the list. So we can do this by using equals and count and selecting the cells in the same way. So I can really do that anywhere. I'll do that here with the ID, equals, and then I'm going to write out the function counts. So you can see it comes up in the list. Shift and the open brackets, and then I'm going to select the column. If I do it from here, and I can drag this up, and we've got the ID column, I can close that, and then return. That gives me the list of 30 pupils. As you can imagine, there are a numerous amount of functions in Excel. If you want to see what is possible, you can click on this icon here, and I'm going to select this drop down and look at all. So these are all of the functions that are available in Excel. Not only are there a lot here, but you can use multiple functions within your formula, so you can build things that are really quite complex. So this is one of the reasons I wanted to introduce some basic functionality here, just to show you what's possible. Before you move on to any further videos, I'd like you to try this out yourself, going through the same steps of downloading the dataset, changing the data into a table, adding averages for the scores, and adding a count for the pupils. And when you've done this, put done in the comments below.